Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, I'm going to still talk about the absolute, and because I feel there's some other things I want to stress, especially from the point of view of history. Last time, I talked about the absolute versus the relative, and I stressed especially one, the number one. Okay, I said something limited and the number one are all the same. It's a feature of the relative when the relative was created by the absolute. Okay, what's the significance of this realization of one and one only in creation? Well, first I want to say for anything, if it's truly creation, it must be one. Okay? Think about that. Everything is like that. Second, I want to say that the one, you can think about the our world, the natural world. Okay? In other words, you can think one is our universe. That's called universe. That's correct. There's no multiverse, as nowadays cosmologists said. No, that's wrong. Okay? The second point is the one means human beings or life exists as one, all right, as singular form in the universe. There's no aliens, no other lives which can survive to create a civilization. Recently, that some scientists already find that the Mars have some rivers or trees of it. Well, I believe that's possible, but because its temperature, it's not allowed life to survive. That's a problem. It cannot sustain life. So for this temperature to be suitable for life to survive, it's only in the earth, in our earth. That's what I'm thinking. Because any creation by the absolute, it's related to the law of transcendental number. All right? Everything can occur only once. No repetition in this area. Okay? So it's the same thing. Of course, these are my postulates or conjecture or whatever you call it. It can be proven false if science, cosmology, or really physics, whoever discovered that life in the alien planet or aliens come to Earth to get us, it's easily can be proven, right? It's falsifiable, in other words, in Popper's term, right? Okay, so we'll see. But from the theory, in instancology and absolutology, I really think our world is the only world in the universe, and the human beings are the center of the universe. In other words, instancology, excuse me, instancology and absolutology revert back to the religion thousands of years ago, that human beings are the God of the universe, in a sense, quote, end of quote, of course. And we are the center of the universe. And although we were, as a life form, was thrown into the corner of the Milky Way galaxy, it's looking like nobody, but as a matter of fact, is that we have the absolute two parts, the small absolute in our brain. Okay, that makes our human being special, makes us unique in the universe. And it goes along with the religious teaching in the past. But believe it or not, that's true. I'm not a religious person, but that's a fact, I must say. Okay, I come to this conclusion. All right, that's from last talk. Okay, now I want to add to this part. Remember, I mentioned in the past the whole philosophy or instancology, and from a historical point of view, it's a journey of the absolute. Okay, this is a very it has a deep meaning. When people mention the absolute or the journey of something of the absolute, people used to think about it sounds like a Hegel system, right? All right. Let me say this, and the Hegelian form of the absolute is the absolute of the concepts or thoughts. Okay, I'll talk about that more later. So, from the historical point of view, and the three phases of human understanding of the absolute are really is really clear now. And the first is religion. In the Bible, in the book 1, the Genesis, it says it all begins. That means start of our world. And that's the first happened of this worldview. And later on in philosophy, and the people talk about absolute. Like before Hegel, there's Schelling. I think in ancient pro-Socratic times, people talk about that absolute too, because many philosophers at that time think about only one thing, and I believe somebody talked about that absolute, the concept of absolute, but I don't remember exactly. Schelling, the German philosopher before Hegel, after Kant, Schelling talked about the absolute, and but he means absolute nature. And after Hegel, like Heidegger, talk about the absolute means absolute being. Okay. Hegel's term, Hegel's talk about the absolute is the most. Let me say it. Let me discuss it a little bit later. I just now want to finish this three phases. The last phase is instancology. It's current instancology and absolutology. Okay, so basically it went through the three phases. You can say it's like Hegel's idea. It's thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. All right. Okay. I come back to Hegel's point. Well, these three phases is only the look or appearance. And actually, Hegelian's thoughts, the so-called dialectic, it's very deep. The dialectic form, as a matter of fact, has a lot of problems because in our world, not everything goes dialectically, and we know that. This form is sort of a little bit exaggeration of it. I think the major idea of Hegelian ideas or thoughts, the system, is the thoughts are the world. That's in line with Parmenides' understanding, in line with Plato's. In this respect, we can say that. And of course, in this Instancology and absolutology. But the people normally don't understand this. They only see the surface, the apparent three stages. They call it dialectic, like in China, where Hegel's thoughts are very popular, but almost 100% of people don't understand what it means. And they only know superficially that the thesis, the antithesis, synthesis, the three steps, the dialectical triad, so-called, is the Hegelian system. That's their understanding. Looking at the Western part, and if you read the Bertrand Russell's The History of Western Philosophy, you know Bertrand Russell doesn't understand it either because it's so difficult. A lot of philosophers, even the famous philosophers, don't get it. All right. That's why when Hegel was dying in his deathbed, he says, only one person understands me, but even he got it wrong. Okay, that means nobody understands it, except him maybe. Okay, so the idea, I understand it, is the trip from thoughts to thoughts, from hidden, from logic, from the inner world. It emerges and shows itself as extra appearance, so-called alienation in nature, then come back to here to concepts. That's this journey, this little journey is Hegel's, what Hegel's means. All right. If I interpret with instancology, I want to say this is from the micro world or from the higher instance, because it's thoughts, and to make a little trip to the macro world, that is our physical world, and then come back to thoughts again. Okay, you know, we have the higher level instance, that is thoughts. The other one is prior instance, that's physical things in nature or physical, but actually there is no micro world yet. And when that matures, when movement gets mature, it will drop like an egg into the macro world, that's the physical world, and it becomes a prior matter. Okay, then eventually it becomes matter, and eventually grow into human beings. Right? Okay, so this is a journey. This is called. You may think about that as a small journey, like maybe one trip, like Columbus discovered America, things like that. A trip from Europe to America. Okay, that's it, because it's from the micro world, MICRO, macro world, okay, to the macro world, MACRO world. Okay, so that's Columbus trip, but the instancology is like the trip Magellan made. It's a global. It's a round globe. okay, the whole way from the absolute to the relative, from the relative to the four categories go through from the micro world to the macro world, then come back. You can say it this way. This is a whole journey, all right? So it's like a Magellan's, the Portuguese explorer, discovered the world by make a circular round trip, circumnavigation, the whole thing, the whole globe travel, okay, in around the 15th century, okay. At that time, it's he and the Columbus, I think it's like apart only for about 20 years or something, all around 15 to 16 centuries at that time. Okay, so this is so Hegelian thought is a small trip of the absolute, mostly related to absolute ideas. The absolute itself make the whole trip like a Magellan's trip, all the way from absolute itself to relative, to the two worlds, then come back to the two hemisphere of human brain. Okay, that's a whole trip. We can say this way. All right. Okay. So the last point I want to make is the maturity. All right. When we have the maturity of this understanding, by indication of the religious understanding, philosophy's understanding, including science, and eventually the Instancology's understanding of it, it's an indication of the maturity of human knowledge in the pursuit of the truth. So if you see this point, and you understand eventually the earliest questions raised by Socratic philosophers, who we are, what is the world, where we are, and how should we conduct ourselves, and the four basic questions are answered by Instancology. If you understand the whole thing, you'll reach this conclusion. Okay, so that's something I want to mention about the absolute. And hopefully next time I'll start talking about the relative part. Okay, so okay, see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.